NTA International News.
To ensure prudence in federal government expenditure, Steering Committee and Efficiency Unit
in immortalizing late Mandela. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives said the number of bills passed in its first legislative year is unprecedented. Chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Abdulrazak Namdaz,
in the investigative hearing for the greater interest of our great country. This allegation created panic, mistrust, fear, and is suspected to be responsible for high death rates and probable cause of the current high cost and scarcity of tomatoes in the economy.
Major producers of tomato paste urged the House to check the perceived excesses of the regulatory bodies.
We were shocked to see that in some of these factories, you see bulk
suggested the prosecution of building laws violators and establishment of a building collapse response team comprising professionals and security agencies.
Building control departments must be staffed by competent and fully relevant professionals. In this regard, the provisions of the National Building Code must be strictly enforced at all levels.
What we have now, there's no enforcement, there's no law. That's why we want to go back to the building codes.
Contributors recommended, among other measures, introduction of the state's building control agency. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
Away from the legislature to finance matters, in its efforts to be prudent in spending, Nigerian government says it has found ways of trimming costs in an effective way, which is expected to bring a significant reduction in public expenditure. Liakatung Babatunde reports that Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun, who made the disclosure at a meeting of the Steering Committee of the Efficiency Unit, said the journey which began November last year is beginning to achieve its purpose.
The Efficiency Unit of the federal government became operational 6 months ago and has so far generated data on the actual consolidated overhead expenditure of government from 2012 to 2014. Minister Kemi Adeosun itemized the quick wins to include reduced costs of travels, welfare, honorarium and sitting allowance, training, adverts and publicity, as well as refreshment and meals. More gains are expected through inter-agency collaboration as well.
Major savings are expected when ongoing engagement with the Bureau of Public Procurement and the pooling of MDA demand for standard products such as vehicles, computers, printers, photocopiers, diesel and stationery.
Average annual expenditure on rent for the 3-year period of 2012 to 2014 was put at 3.55 trillion naira. Issuance of price guidelines and initiatives for reducing expenditure on rent in office and residential buildings by the federal government is also imperative.
To achieve that, we are already looking at using properties that were forfeited from recoveries and moving some of our agencies to occupy those properties rather than paying rent.
There's a circular on travels, there's also a circular on sitting allowances, and between those two, savings of 14 billion per annum are expected.
The National Economic Council, as part of the fiscal sustainability framework
in the region as a legitimizer, bridge builder, unifier, fundraiser and moral guarantor of peace agreement, as well as a veritable security community.
As we move ahead with the implementation of Vision 2020 to create a borderless, peaceful, prosperous, cohesive region built on governance and where people have the capacity to access and harness its enormous resources through the creation of opportunities for sustainable development and environmental preservation, the permanent representatives of member states stand ready to play their part in moving our community's agenda forward.
One issue that has continued to be on the front burner here is the transition of the Commission from ECOWAS of States to ECOWAS of People, which is included in its Vision 2020. The vision will give a sense of ownership to the people of the region, thereby removing the perception of the association as meant for the few.
ECOWAS has to take more care. It has to pay more attention to the needs and welfare of the 300 million citizens that comprise the 50 member states. If it is able to do so, it will be in a position to advertise itself and to make itself relevant to the citizens. And I think the citizens will also be able to defend it, even against bad leaders, those leaders who may be tempted to opt out of ECOWAS.
The guest lecturer, Professor Amadou Cissé, also warned that the proposed economic partnership agreements with the more advanced European Union and major developed countries and trading blocs could be another threat to ECOWAS member nations' aspirations to harness their innovative potentials. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Efforts by the Nigerian Immigration Service to further improve on surveillance and control operations received a boost with renewed bilateral collaboration between the German and Nigerian governments in that direction. This is coming as the German government has taken a step to officially implement its policies Program Africa in Nigeria by donating some surveillance equipment to the service at the headquarters in Abuja. Justin Bemunyi reports.
The Police Program Africa, a project by Germany in 9 different African countries, has the overall objective of strengthening the policing institutions and building capacity of officers of African Union and ECOWAS member states, especially in areas of conflict. After an extreme preparatory phase, including a fact-finding mission in Nigeria in 2014, involving the Nigeria Immigration Service and police force, the parties agreed to develop this program. Now, the implementation phase has begun. The German corporation is focusing on assisting the training and equipping of immigration officers to strengthen border control and security operations, especially in states from the northwest of the country.
Cooperation will, here in Nigeria with NPF, but also with NIS, will focus on training institutions in the northwest of Nigeria, that is mainly Sokoto, Kaduna, and Kano. In addition, the project will also be working with your organization with border posts and strengthening border posts in Sokoto and in Kebbi State to Niger.
The Immigration Service boss affirmed a judicious use of the donations and collaboration towards strengthening migration management and cross-border cooperation.
We just received technical assistance from GIZ GmbH. It's a German NGO. They have seen commitment toward transparency. That's why they are giving us these donations. It will change things, however small you contribute. They know very well that managing migration is a global issue. I think it will contribute greatly to assisting Nigeria generally and also to manage migration globally.
This phase of the collaboration through this program is expected to last for 3 years. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
Still on boundary matters, head of delegation of the Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission have urged the United Nations and the 2 countries to expedite action towards the conclusion of demarcation of boundaries between Nigeria and Cameroon. The meeting, which was held in Yaoundé, the Cameroonian capital, noted the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari and his counterpart, President Paul Biya of Cameroon, for quick and peaceful demarcation of the border between the 2 countries. The meeting resolved for the 2 countries to refrain from embarking on developmental projects in the grey areas along their boundary corridors, pending the conclusion of the demarcation exercise. The 2 countries are further advised to fast-track the finalization of the joint agreement on the exploration of hydrocarbon resource along the maritime boundary of Cameroon and Nigeria. The meeting was chaired by Mohammed Ibn Chambers, a special representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations, while Nigeria's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, led the Nigerian delegation, and Cameroon's Vice Prime Minister Amadou Ali led the Cameroonian delegation. The need to instill sense of patriotism and restore the dignity of internally displaced children through love and care was the focus of an event put together by a non-governmental organization, Halima Factor Foundation. Fatima Aliu reports that the event was organized by the Nigerian Television Authority and other relevant organizations with the theme Literature and Arts as Tool for Integration of IDP Children.
The day belongs to the children, and they knew it, as those from the IDP camps and regular homes were excited to express their minds in poems and recitation as well as artworks.
Nigeria, we are one, I will never sleep.
Reverend Father Christopher Nubia and his committee of friends invites you to the public presentation of his books titled Christian Marriage, Before, During and After Each Celebration, and on the Standing Parish Pastoral Council and Finance Committee, under the chairmanship of Mr. Michael Okonkwo. Chief Launcher, Distinguished Senator John Damboye, Special Guest of Honor, His Eminence John Cardinal Onaikon, the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, and His Lordship, Most Reverend Dr. Ansel Umoren, the Auxiliary Bishop of Abuja. Date, Saturday, 11th June 2016. Venue, Our Lady Queen of Nigeria Pro-Cathedral Hall, Area 3, Gariki, Abuja.
We are still dialoguing with various arms of government, Ministry of Health, the Vice President's office, and any other one that we can find.
To further reduce the challenges of skin cancer, the foundation entered into an agreement with the manufacturer of this medicinal body cream in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Health. They, however, say the counterpart funding from the Ministry of Health is delaying the distribution of the cream to end users.
Our intention was that we're already captured in the budget, so we went ahead to contract for it to be produced, but we later found out that it was not in the budget.
It's about to expire. We must distribute it this weekend to our coordinators who will come from various parts of this country. Then they will go back and deliver to end users who are members of our foundations.
June 13 of every year has been set aside by the United Nations as International Albinism Awareness Day. In Abuja, Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
And Moplang Dakok is standing by for stories from the financial sector.
Glad to have you join us on this segment. We begin with the latest report by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. The corporation in its monthly financial report says it has paid 56.22 billion naira into the Federation account for the month of April 2016 from local sale of petroleum products. The report added that crude oil export sales during the period amounted to $191.30 million, while gas export sales were $71.81 million. On the Nigerian stock market, the all share index depreciated by minus 0.16%. On the global market, European stocks fell a third straight day as the Europe 600 index fell by 1.4%, extending its second drop. Among other shares active on corporate news, Dutch Lufthansa dropped by 4.4%, while Asia stocks also dropped by 1.1%. The market outlook wraps it on this segment. The news continues.
For stories trending in other parts of the world, here is Justin Bem.
Thousands of people are attending a farewell procession for boxing legend Muhammad Ali in his home city of Louisville in Kentucky, United States. The heavyweight champion and rights activist died last Friday aged 74. Actor Will Smith and ex-boxer Lennox Lewis will be among the pallbearers, while former President Bill Clinton will deliver one of the eulogies. And in Britain, a national service of thanksgiving to mark the Queen's official 90th birthday at St. Paul's Cathedral has paid tribute to her faithful devotion to the country. The service was attended by members of the royal family, including Duke Edinburgh, on his own 95th birthday. The service is the beginning of 3 days of events to mark the Queen's official birthday celebrations after she turned 90 in April. Meanwhile, a court in the Indian capital, Delhi, has sentenced 5 men to life in prison for the 2014 gang rape of a Danish woman in the city. The 52-year-old tourist was robbed and raped at knife point in January 2014. 9 people, including 3 minors, were arrested for the crime. 1 accused died, while the minors are being tried in a juvenile court. Justin Bem-Unyi, NTA News.
House of Representatives Committee on Sports and Chris Giwa differ on NFF leadership tussle as World Anti-Doping Agency suspends Madrid laboratory. Kenema Bodike has more on Sports Update.
In the wake of the leadership tussle in the Nigeria Football Federation, the House of Representatives Committee on Sports Friday threw its support behind the Amaju Pinnick-led Executive Board, calling on the opposition to stay clear from the glass house in the interest of the game.
As a House, the resolution of the House in respect of the NFF crisis: 1. The Minister of Youth and Sports Development and the Federal Government of Nigeria shall continue to recognize, work and support the NFF under Mr. Amaju Pinnick presidency.
Meanwhile, Chris Giwa says the crisis at the football house has not been decided as the matter is still in court.
The only body that has the power to say their decision is binding is the court of the land. That is the only institution that the constitution of this country has empowered to do that.
Madrid Anti-Doping Laboratory has been suspended by the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, after failing to comply with international standards. It is the 5th laboratory to be sanctioned recently after Bloemfontein joined Beijing and Lisbon in being suspended from WADA-related activities. NBA's most valuable player, Steph Curry, has announced he will not